back to the Webby O'Neill channel. Crisis? What crisis? Erik Ten Hag seems to think there is no crisis at Manchester United. We're going to get stuck into his comments in his press conference after the Liverpool match. Get involved in today's chat as usual, because we do want to get you involved and answer some of your opinions or questions, shall I say. Is he under pressure?
Erik Ten Hag is officially under massive pressure. And if Erik Ten Hag can't see there's a problem, then it will turn into a crisis pretty quickly. His tactics was exposed yesterday against Liverpool. Arne Slot even exposed it after the game and told us all how simple it was to break down Man United. He is under massive pressure and he's putting himself out of a job if he does not change. And what he has to change is them tactics. Time and time again, we're now seeing the same failings and Erik Ten Hag isn't responding to it. He is creating his own problems. The fans went out of that ground on 60 minutes as though they were practicing a fire drill. They all seen what the problem was. They've seen it time and time again. Massive problems for him.
Yeah, I'm going to get stuck into some comments that he said after the match. And one was, there are many games left to play and I know where we will be at the end of the season. We will go for trophies that will stand. Will Erik Ten Hag actually last the season, though, if he doesn't change these tactics?
Listen, the faces, it was a crisis, right? When I looked at Sir Jim Ratcliffe, Barada, Dan Ashworth, their faces sat there, that was a crisis. And that's telling me they're telling a different story than what Erik Ten Hag's telling. He won't last the season with them faces. They know there's a big problem. And he has to turn it round or he won't last. It's as simple as that. And I go back to it time and time again. It's the same tactics. We've got good players out there. Yes, we still need to move one or two on. But at the end of the day, the players are out there and it's now down to the tactics. It's the same old, and it's not working. Clearly not working. Everyone can see it. Every manager, what we come up against, can see it and just changes.
Yeah, you mentioned Arne Slot there. It literally took Arne Slot in his interview on Sky Sports less than 2 minutes to break it down in how to beat Manchester United. And you look at the two results that we've suffered in defeats at the start of the season, Brighton and Liverpool, both new managers and can already outwit our manager in terms of tactics and overall playing the game. And that's a concern for me. I've got to be honest, two new managers who have come in, took on teams from previous managers and been able to slot right in and actually perform better than what we have in their 90 minutes in the games.
Well, I go back to this, two new managers. Erik Ten Hag's there, best in class. Lots of people out there saying it. Well, if they can see it after 2 minutes and beat Man United and just overhaul them, because that's what's happened here. United, against Liverpool especially, were just run over completely. And our manager is there and he thinks he knows best. And these two new managers, what have just beat us, have just walked in and just trod all over us. There is something wrong, and it is the tactics. Other people out there might say there's a little bit more, but tactically, we're so naive, so weak.
You've got to look at the starting 11 as well yesterday. I think 6 of the starters yesterday were Erik Ten Hag signings. 3 of them were academy players, and 2 players, I think, who were bought before Erik Ten Hag in Delo and Bruno Fernandes. So this is near enough his team. And he was asked about if Agati coming in will solve the problems in midfield. And he actually said something along the lines of, I'm not Harry Potter or something like that. As though he's not got a magic wand and it'll fix it. Well, he's got to take more responsibility with that, surely, in the tactics. And I'm looking at it at half-time yesterday. And Casemiro, he had a shocking first half. But who out of Erik Ten Hag, Nistelrooy and Hacker actually thought it was a good idea to bring a 20-year-old lad on to make his Premier League debut against the Liverpool team? Out of all of them, who actually thought that was a good idea to go up against the Liverpool midfield with a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old when you're 2-0 down? It's a joke.
Yeah, it is a joke. But Casemiro had completely gone, mentally gone. They had no other option. And when you look at the bench, there was no other
No, but
option.
you say that about mentally gone, but, you know, I've seen Casemiro's wife post pictures on Instagram of all the trophies he's won, and that's great, that's fantastic. But if you're that much of an experienced player, you get in at half-time, you reboot yourself, and you think, right, I'm going back out, I'm going to make it better. Now, unless there was some serious arguments in that dressing room at half-time concerning Casemiro, these should have been back out on that field and been told, you go out there and you perform better. Simple as. Not go and throw a 20-year-old lad into the firing line like they did yesterday. I think that was man management was absolutely shocking by not just Erik ten Hag, but that whole coaching team yesterday. Because that midfield three of Liverpool totally outdone us from the first to the 90th minute.
Everything about it was poor. Casemiro was poor. Half-time, dealing with it was poor. Putting Collier on there, that was poor. But they had no other option. I clearly believe Casemiro was shot after that game, at half-time, and there was no way they were bringing him on. But the tactics and everything, okay, where were they? We couldn't change anything. We didn't change anything. We just went to pot, and that is poor. And that's why I'm saying there is a big, massive problem inside Manchester United regarding tactics. And if it's not changed by them all, now there might be Van Nistelrooy pushing Erik ten Hag to change, but he has the final say. So it goes down to him. And if he doesn't change it, he will lose his job. And there will be no one responsible except Erik ten Hag himself. He turned round in his press conference. He turned around and said, we're building a new team. Well, that's all fine, building a new team. There's good players out there, okay? But building a new team, it's like making excuses. That's what it sounded like to me, right? And that's no good if your tactics are cruelly exposed. You can build a new team year after year, but when your tactics are cruelly exposed, as they were against Liverpool, as they were with new managers, in your Brighton manager, your Liverpool manager, right? We've seen it time and time again. It will go down and nothing will happen. And when he talks about trophies, winning trophies, everyone was just laughing at that comment, because where we sit right now, we ain't winning anything, because last year was terrible at times. The year before, we got away with it, right? It was his first year, but this is his third year, and the tactics aren't changing. Now, Sir Jim Ratcliffe can see that. They were absolutely gobsmacked looking out onto that pitch, what they were seeing. These people have come in, they've changed everything. We talk about best in class. They kept Erik ten Hag. I've heard lots of people talking about they kept Erik ten Hag. There was no one better out there, okay? Well, they better go and find somebody if he doesn't change his tactics, because that's called stubbornness, okay? And we can all see it has to change.
Yeah, just going to dive into the chat. Yellow Storm, cheers for super chat. It says, we start Rashford, Bruno, Garnacho numerous times. The creative machine and star boys, we hardly score more than one goal a game and can't create for nothing. And we've only scored one goal in... No, 2 goals, sorry, in 3 games.
Look, I just look at it. Where is the creativity? We're only playing in moments of football, and that's the way they're set up. They're not there to carry all the way through for 90 minutes. It's not working. We've seen it. So at the end of the day, you have to look at it. There is no creativity. The two wide apart. We know that. And it's just, not only is it not good enough, it's embarrassing. And yesterday summed it up for embarrassment.
What did you think of Bruno Fernandes' comments after the game when he was asked about Casemiro and the mistakes he actually made in the first half? I couldn't believe it, that he come out with something along the lines of he didn't need to tell him because of all the experience Casemiro has. He's the Manchester United captain. Surely you go in there at half-time and as men, you have it out with each other. Yeah. You don't just stay silent and just think, oh, well, he's got more experience than me. You know, he should be all right, and let him deal with it himself.
I was amazed at Bruno Fernandes' comments about he's got more experience, he's got titles, he's got trophies, he's got this more than me. I don't have to speak to him. He's the captain. When someone's not pulling the weight or they're playing badly, it's down to the captain to speak to that person, right, and encourage him and get him on the level he should be. So not to even have a word with him, because that's what Bruno's saying. He's saying, oh, he's got more experience. That is weak. But it's not just weak from Bruno Fernandes, it's weak from the management because he's clearly not doing the job he's supposed to do as a Manchester United captain. To me, it's a cop-out for Bruno Fernandes, and it's big cop-out when he talks about Casemiro and doesn't mention his own failures, what have been going on and on and on. I've not seen him perform against Liverpool in the way what we all want. He didn't do any creativity yesterday. He was poor, and now he's turning round and backing Casemiro up, using the excuse that he's got the trophies, he's got the titles, I've no need to speak to him. Well, sometimes you need to give players a rollicking, and yesterday was the time to give Casemiro a big rollicking, and someone should have given Bruno one as well.
Look, we've got to recognise as well the team, the squad that Liverpool got, and they played some great football yesterday, and it hurts me saying that. But do you honestly believe that without them mistakes from Casemiro, I know we're looking into a crystal ball here, but without them individual mistakes, the result would have changed yesterday and Liverpool wouldn't have won the game?
Liverpool were more compact. They knew what they were doing. They had a game plan, and that was going to last right throughout the game. And they were just sat there waiting for United's mistakes, which they thought was inevitable to happen. And we all know that there's mistakes in this team. Erik ten Hag in his press conference turned around and says, we have to improve. Well, no joking, Erik. Of course we have to improve, but it's you what has to improve, Erik. Yeah. You have to improve this side tactically. The players are there.
Sorry to interrupt. I know you're saying tactically, and I do totally agree with that. He needs to adapt them with what players he's got available and adapt the tactics to suit and get the best out of this team. But I'm still seeing lapses of that mentality of when Man United and this team have setbacks in games. Yeah, you look at the players and you don't see anyone really digging each other out or someone who's going to give you that spark to get you back into the game in the big moments, in the big games. No,
there's clearly something wrong in that dressing room, and Bruno Fernandes, to be honest with you, has exposed it.
Yeah,
if someone does something wrong, like Casemiro, he's not getting told off. He's not getting the finger pointing. He's not getting shouted at. Where's all that gone in football? Hang on a minute. He's not pulling his weight there. Well, what's happening to Rashford then? What's happening to Rashford? Is he not getting pulled? Is he not getting a rollicking?
I know, but you've got to look at this, what he said after the game as well, Ten Hag on Rashford. He said he created 2 very good chances. I know if he keeps working, keeps fighting like I know he is, he will come good and he will score goals. And that's coming from the manager.
Yeah, well, I pinpointed the chances what was created, but them chances were created late on by Rashford finding space by coming back. He never beat a man or anything like that. We go on about Rashford, but there's other players and all that, right? Players are getting away with it. It's weak all round. And Bruno, talking about Casemiro, actually exposes what's going on.
Inside that dressing room.
Inside that dressing room. And Erik ten Hag hasn't sorted it out. This is his 3rd year. Now, we've given him the 3rd year, right, because he should know what he's doing. Well, he clearly doesn't know what he's doing tactically at the moment, and inside that club, right, isn't being run the right way. And they were exposed yesterday against Liverpool, and Ratcliffe and everyone, Barada, they all seen it. But what was interesting was how Ruud van Nistelrooy was elbowing Erik ten Hag, giving him the finger, then pointing out certain things. Now, that's Ruud van Nistelrooy. I've not seen that, where the manager's being digged out while the game's going on. Look at that, he was saying. In other words, he was showing him what players were doing, mistakes and everything. Whereas Erik ten Hag, as we know, tends to stand in his little area, just stood there looking, or sat in the dugout, just staring out. Ruud van Nistelrooy was having none of that. Now, many of you have mentioned in the comments that he's sat there waiting to take over from Erik ten Hag. Well,
I don't think that's going to solve any problems.
I did say
no, I'm not. I don't mean with you, but I know, and we've read a lot of comments on the channel about Nistelrooy, but I don't think that would solve any problems with this team with Van Nistelrooy. I mean, can you be confident that that will change? We've already had an ex-Man United player who's been manager of this football team with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Do we really want to be going down that route again? I'm not too sure on that. Is the other managers out there? But let's face it, right now we're not at that point. And I don't expect INEOS or Jim Ratcliffe to make any knee-jerk reactions in getting rid of this manager just because we've been beat by Liverpool and a very, very good Liverpool team who will be up there come the end of the season. The disappointing thing is that in the first 3 games, we've scored 2 goals and it's not looked any better, really, from what we've seen last season, apart from the odd moments in games. And that's a concern for me. And that midfield, we've been saying it for months and months now. It's a major concern about getting consistency with results and getting wins, because I just can't see it when you've got Casemiro in the base of that pivot.
What we see Erik ten Hag talking about trophies and everything, that's my concern. Okay, I don't see on these performances, what I've seen in these 3 games, that United are going to be in any position to challenge for anything. I mean, I did say I thought I'd be happy with 5th. I'd be happy with 5th. I can't see that at this moment, but it's early days, so I'm not panicking on that. It's down to Erik ten Hag to turn it round. But looking at it, Erik ten Hag seems to be a little bit delusional when it comes to the reality of what's going on. His press conference yesterday, right, he never addressed any of the problems. It's as though, like, it's a work in progress. Yes, it's a work in progress, but you've been there 3 years, Erik. And if that dressing room hasn't changed, and if the captain's not doing his job, and if the captain himself isn't showing up in the big games, then Erik ten Hag, right, has got a big problem which will turn quickly into a crisis.
A lot of people are digging out Marcus Rashford as well, and I can't really go against a lot of comments that I've seen over the past 24 hours on our channel, but I keep looking at, well, it's a discussion what we had last season about Rashford not really tracking back, not putting the work rate in that you would see from Garnacho or Ahmad on the right-hand side, and I still think it's a tactic from Ten Hag for Rashford to be still stood up there, well, up at the top, you know, for us to actually get out and break with counter-attacks. Yeah. I really do, because if you're looking at something what I did yesterday, and you're looking at the heat maps of Marcus Rashford over the last few games, going back into last season, the heat map's always near enough to the same spot. And where the other team, well, the other players are all positioned like near enough, like at the bottom, in centre midfield, over to the right-hand side. And you've always got Rashford out on the left. So it's like they're using Marcus Rashford as someone who can spring the attack, so, you know, as an out ball.
But it's not working.
And it's not working, so...
It's not working, and the thing is, that's down to tactics.
If it's not a tactic as well...
No, it sounds as though it's a tactic. Yeah. But it sounds as though it's a tactic to keep Marcus Rashford up there and try and get some space.
That's it, yeah.
Well, it's clearly not working, because he's been rubbish for 14 months.
Yeah.
Been rubbish. And how Erik ten Hag can't solve that problem, I'm bewildered by it, if that is what's being used there. Because you and I was talking during the game yesterday, and we watched Marcus Rashford early on, and Trent Alexander went running down the wing, and he was just there watching him go. He's not tracking back. Yeah. So, but he's not the only one failing, Rashford. There's other players. I mean, we can go on about the players yesterday. Some of them had poor games, to be honest with you.
A lot of them.
I didn't think Garnacho had a decent game. No. But the thing is, the ball wasn't moving. The ball was always being cut out. And the players just aren't up to it in this system. And it's got to change. Yeah.
With Rashford as well, you've seen him a lot of the time as well, just kind of like hugging that touchline on the left-hand side, where you want to see him making or looking to make them diagonal runs in behind, and where that space is between the opposition's like last defenders and the goalkeeper. But the midfield yesterday, even when we were getting up there, you know, the likes of Bruno Fernandes, Xerxes was culpable at times as well when he dropped deep. The final balls were really, really poor. And sometimes, well, a couple of occasions in that first half, we were in decent positions in attack as well.
Yeah, well, I've just got to go back. We want to see Marcus Rashford in certain positions. You said, no, that's not true. I don't want to see him there. I've not wanted to see him there for a long time.
That's a huge statement, that.
I don't want him there. I don't think he wants to be there. I think he's got eyes elsewhere. I think his discipline and everything went a long time ago. I said the other year, I don't trust Marcus Rashford, and the last 14 months has proved that right. I don't want him there. I don't want to see them use Marcus Rashford doing this, doing that. That's all down to tactics and everything. Marcus Rashford does not put in the work rate, but there has been other players who haven't put in the work rate in this squad for a long time. So that's got to improve. That's got to change. Erik ten Hag talks about building a new team. That's fine. We've had new teams many times here. And Erik ten Hag has changed players. He's bought players. He's spent a hell of an amount of money, right? And it's being wasted solely because the players aren't happy with the tactics. It doesn't work. So some players need to go. Casemiro, Rashford, some others. If he wants to build a new team, that's fine. But he has to change the tactics. So there's harsh things going on here. And officially, Erik ten Hag, as I've said, is under massive pressure. And if he doesn't see the problem, he will be sacked. And someone else will come in and just change the tactics. And I go back to the conversation.
Yeah, but you were talking about tactics as well. We go back to February last year. Ratcliffe done a couple of interviews where he was saying it'll be the club that set the style of play and the way he wants Manchester United to play. So, what's going on behind the scenes there? Not with just the manager, but you're looking at Dan Ashworth, Wilcox as well.
Okay, I'll look.
Surely they're having an input or a word in his ears to say, well, look, Erik, this has got to change here because that midfield is just wide open. You can get a bus through it.
Okay, all we've had is 3 games. We've got a break now. They've looked at it fully. When they come into Manchester United, they walk round Old Trafford, they walk round Carrington, they walk round everywhere, having a look. And then, within a couple of months, they started acting. This isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. Well, we've had 3 games now, and if Sir Jim Ratcliffe and INEOS are true to the word, they want best in class, okay? They're looking around, and they're going to tell Erik ten Hag, this is not best in class football. These tactics aren't right. These other things what aren't right. So 3 games in, it's not a crisis, a full-blown crisis. It's a problem. And this is what these people are here for, people like Barada, Ashworth and all that. They're to work with Erik ten Hag. So I think they are going to go in there now and say, look, Erik, 3 games have come here. There's a problem here. There's a problem there. Let's sit down. Let's try and sort it out. And it's now down to Erik ten Hag to say, and listen to what's being said and point out. And if he's not happy, that's it. They've chose Erik ten Hag. And if they see what they seen, what we all seen yesterday, and their faces told you the story. Massive crisis coming if this doesn't change. So they will have a word, just like when they walked in Old Trafford, they had a word with every department. And now it's Erik ten Hag's time. They're going to have a word with him and say, hey, this ain't working. I
can imagine Erik ten Hag, though, pointing to the Brighton game and the Liverpool game about the individual errors that led to goals.
We all see.
But it's also the manager who's culpable in setting the team up, especially when you concede like you did against Brighton. But I'm sure that
there is players.
There is players. And I've got to say that I'm sure Erik ten Hag on the training pitch isn't telling them to defend like they did against Brighton. He doesn't tell Casemiro to play balls in midfield like he did do against Liverpool. Kobbie Mainoo dangling on the ball the way he was, getting out possessed. And
but it goes to this: they're his players, they're his tactics.
Oh, the buck stops with the manager.
Yeah, so it's clearly not working. There's something clearly wrong, and we did mention before about the dressing room. It's not working. Yeah. Because if they're not talking to each other and they're not digging each other out for individual mistakes, right, okay, then there's a big problem. So I think now what we've seen is 3 games, okay, where we're not happy, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe will look at it.
Yeah, just going to dive into the chat. Akash K, cheers for Super Chat, says, to be fair, Licha was screaming at Casemiro before the first goal, and something that I don't think would have helped Erik ten Hag as well was the substitution with Ahmad. We all heard the boos when Garnacho got took off, but it was Ahmad's cameo performance, and it was a bit of an uplift on that right-hand side. So people are going to be pointing the finger as to say, well, why didn't he start Ahmad, especially when he got a goal as well against Brighton?
Listen, the stats tell you Ahmad was in the penalty box more than any other player, and he came on as a late sub. Should he have started? I'm not too sure. Garnacho was on there. We know he was going to pick Rashford. I didn't want Rashford on there. I thought it should have been Ahmad, but he came on. Look, the game was lost. They weren't 100% at it. They were just strolling through the game, making sure they didn't get injuries. They were just nicely doing substitutions, giving people a run out. So Ahmad didn't really have that first tackling, that first running against him. So he had a bit of a clear run. So you can't sort of say, oh, Ahmad come on and he should have started because of what he did. Liverpool had actually just strolled through it and then just seen the game out by the time Ahmad come on.
Yeah, Gary Neville as well on Sky Sports after the game said he thinks Erik ten Hag will get a few months with these new players coming in, like Højlund coming back and Agati coming in. He can't be 8th at the end of November. He has to be in the top 4 or 5 come November. Do you agree with them comments? Let me know if you do as well.
Christmas time. Listen, they will speak to Erik ten Hag now, okay? They've seen what's happened. It is a problem. They want him to turn it round. So they'll work with Erik ten Hag. There's a team there. Yeah. They'll work with him and they'll say, right, this is what we need to do. And if he's not done it within a couple of months, then you can see him being sacked. This is Manchester United. He's had everything given to him. And if the tactics he's using, he's preferring, doesn't change and doesn't work, then INEOS will get rid of him. They're ruthless. It's as simple as that. And quite rightly so. This is his 3rd year.
Listen, at the end of the day as well, the football club comes before any player or any manager.
Correct.
And we all want the best for our football club. And I certainly do hope that Erik ten Hag does turn it round, because they have seen certain things from him. You can't just ignore the 2 trophies that he's won in his first couple of seasons. We've always said, give him that 3rd season, and at the end of that 3rd season, then let's look at how he's done. And if he's not performed, let's go on to another manager. It's early days, it's early in the season, it's the 3rd game. We've already suffered 2 defeats. It's a huge blow and it hurts us. Of course it hurts us. But I think by the time we hit the end of September, forget what Neville's saying about November. The end of September, I think we've still got 5 games in there at the end. We'll know, I think, even with them 5 games that we've got.
Listen, without a doubt.
I really do.
Listen,
whether these players and the manager can turn it round and progress.
We will know by the end of September. Yeah. If anything on the pitch is changing, we'll all be able to see it with our own eyes. And then Erik ten Hag will, if he doesn't pull it around, then he will get the bullet. It's as simple as that. These are ruthless and they will make changes. And we all know there's a man sat there waiting, Ruud van Nistelrooy, to move in. Whether they actually do that, only time will tell. Yeah, Ray Kyle, cheers for Super Chat. He says, this has to be a collective thing. They have to sit down and sort it out. Other when would our players show up and have 6 managers now? The 3-year cycle is back. So he's talking about previous managers and the cycle that brought. Cheers for Super Chat, mate. And I do get what he's saying, but at the end of the day, I know we can look back and say, oh, let's stop the cycle of sacking managers. But sometimes it doesn't then mean that the manager you've got is the right man to take you forward. You know, it's as simple as that. Is the other managers out there that we can go and get who we think that could come in and do a better job than Erik ten Hag? Right now, I'm not too sure. I don't know about other managers, but what... Who would be willing to leave the football clubs as well? You know, if you look out there, what managers are available, you know, for me, you know, is Nagelsmann the Germany manager? Is he still tied to Germany, or was that just something to time over for the Euros? You know, Unai Emery, for me, I've always said for a long, long time now, you take Pep Guardiola out of the Premier League, he's the best manager in this league, but I think he's only just signed a contract at Aston Villa. So for me, it's Erik ten Hag. Well, look, but not just for you. What it is, they went looking for a new manager, right? Couldn't find one. Thought he was the best out of the bunch. They put him in place and they've told him to get on with the job, and this is what they want. They will be telling him now, this isn't what we want, and they will be ruthless and get rid of him if he doesn't change. And it is change he has to do. It's his 3rd year. Everything's been given to him. He's got the team behind him. Things are moving on. And we want to see a difference in tactics, because them tactics clearly don't work. So he's under massive pressure, and he's putting himself under pressure if he doesn't listen and change. Best in class. Is Erik ten Hag best in class? Clearly not. We know that. Let's not delude ourselves on that, right? Is he a good manager? Yes, we've seen him perform, turn this team round, but he can't do it on a long-term basis, because we seem to like stop and start. That's not good enough for Manchester United. We need to be in a rhythm and going and challenging. Yeah, Amy Assey, cheers for your Super Chat. Why don't United give Jose Mourinho one more chance? Have a nice day. Yeah, have a nice day, my mate, but I appreciate the Super Chat. Thank you very much. Just like to thank everyone for getting involved today, getting your opinions in the chat. We'll be back tomorrow with another video, but help support the channel and smash that like button. You try and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.